the Endless Golf Podcast, brought to you by Toyota.
And welcome into another edition of the Endless Golf Podcast presented by Toyota. Joining me today from Drew's Morning Dish is Drew Forrester. And Drew, obviously, it's great to have you back on the podcast. Always great to talk golf with you. And I know you're a busy man. You're still very popular in Baltimore. Do a lot of sports talk and sports radio over the years. And it's good to have you back.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, it was funny. I was telling someone the other day I was going to come on your show, and I said he has the best name for a podcast ever invented anywhere because all we ever do, you and me and anyone else who loves golf, is all we do is think about golf endlessly, right? So Endless Golf is like the perfect podcast.
I tell you, I appreciate that. I tell you, it's every person's and every golfer's dream is to play endless golf, and that's what we try to do, play as much as possible. Sometimes it gets us in trouble, but you know what? Who cares? It's a great game. We certainly enjoy playing it, that's for sure. I guess my first question is, how you playing?
Okay, you know, in the spring, I don't really get a whole lot of time to play because I'm coaching. I'm around it all the time, which is great. It's good for my golf Jones. I'm around it every day, and I'm around kids who are, you know, just kill the ball off the tee. Great with their irons. I mean, I'm around really good players, so I don't really get ramped up. Actually, right now, late April, early May, I start to play a little bit more, start to practice a little bit more. The U.S. Senior Amateur Qualifier is in July, so I'm really working hard on trying to get into that. And, you know, I've got my member guests coming up. So I just start kind of like in the middle of April is when I really start to practice and, you know, get rid of all of the bad habits I developed over the winter when I was just goofing around.
Well, I'll tell you, I know you'll appreciate when you get out on the golf course and be able to practice and play more. But right now, you're very involved with as the head coach of Calvert Hall Golf. We're going to talk about that in our next segment. I kind of want to recap first. You know, obviously, when we talked last year, we thought a deal was imminent between LIV and the PGA Tour. That hasn't happened yet. And, you know, we both agreed, you know, it's just really, really bad for the game of golf. And, you know, the one thing that kind of brings us together are the majors, and in particular Masters. And this year's Masters did not disappoint. A lot of drama, obviously, but Drew, just, you know, kind of get your feelings on where we are with the PGA Tour and LIV. And, you know, if you think they keep saying something's going to happen, but your take on this whole thing.
Well, I mean, if it was a boxing match, it's gone back and forth, right, over the last 3 years or so, 4 years, I guess now, which seems weird. You know, it feels now like the PGA Tour has put their foot down and said, we're not budging unless we get X. And if we don't get X, we're not moving. And I don't know what that is. Obviously, a lot of it is in money. I would say if we really knew the truth, Bobby, I would bet you that one of the real sticking points is, what are you going to do for the players who didn't go? And obviously, the first group of people we think of are like Tiger, Rory, Schauffele, Cantlay, Morikawa. Those guys, those premium names who didn't go, I would bet you one of the sticking points is they're saying to the tour, what are you going to do about us? And how are you going to let those guys come back in without some sort of penalty? And what's the penalty? I would bet you that's one of the biggest sticking points. I don't think those guys care really who's playing. I think they want Rahm back, and I think they would like Koepka back, and I think they want the best players. But I also think when those guys said, I'm not going, and those other players left and took the money, I think they feel like there should be some retribution there somehow. That would be my guess. And maybe that's hard to chisel out. That's a hard deal to figure out. What do you say to John Rahm? Give us back $200 million of the $400 million you took? I don't know how you do that.
Well, I do think it's interesting, and I think you're spot on with that analysis. And it is interesting because, you know, the guys who went made a decision to go with it. And then the PGA Tour players, they kind of demonized the LIV players, or the PGA Tour did, and the golf media as well. But then they go in bed and they're dealing with the same people to fund the PGA Tour. So that's the part that kind of is a stickler with me. And I understand some of the players on the tour that didn't go. Maybe some of them had the option to go. Maybe some of them didn't. I think that's a little bit looking at the short term instead of the long term, because right now the short term, the game's being hurt immensely. The long term is the sooner they get back together, the better off they're going to be. I understand the tour players may want some kind of, like you said, retribution or some compensation for what happened. But I also think that if they continue down this path, it's going to continue to hurt the game. And I hope that they get it, solved sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and here's what I would say: no one's really going to be honest about this publicly. Those guys, Cameron Smith, Koepka, DeChambeau, Hatton, any of those guys that left, they're never going to be honest. But if you really if you gave them a truth serum, and you said, other than the money, discount the money, other than the money, are you really happy? Every one of those guys would say no. They all went over there claiming they wanted to play less golf, claiming they wanted more time with their family, claiming maybe this will be kind of cool. We can wear shorts and there's rock music being played and it's only 3 rounds. None of those guys, none of them like it. The golf isn't even on TV or enough, not enough for me to be interested. But the money's good, and I would almost admire some of those guys who at least just came out and said, "I did it for the money." Like I'm not passing up $200 million of free money, but I don't think they like the golf part of it.
Well, I can tell you, we alluded to this a few moments ago. The great thing was at the Masters, you got all the great players together, and you see what a difference it makes when those guys are in the field. I mean, they're competitive. They're not,
sure.
It's not like they're not competitive. They're, DeChambeau, and then this year, look at Patrick Reed. He was in the hunt for a while, and Hatton was there. So a lot of live players competed, but it was really a great Masters. And Scheffler didn't have his A game, but he hung around and he had a chance. But I think your average golfer and guys like us who play the game and love the game and watch it, we look at Rory and the I guess the things that he's been through over the years, the pressure that he's had on himself. And I think a lot of the pressure was because of the PGA Tour put that pressure on him. They made him the golden child of the tour. And then, you know what? He was struggling for a long time. And then, thank goodness, Scheffler came along and started playing great. So I think Rory had not only the pressure of winning the Grand Slam, but also the pressure of the PGA Tour on his shoulders trying to get that final major. And it was good to see it happen. And I was really happy for him. I was really happy for golf as well.
Well, it was obviously, other than Tiger coming back and winning somehow, which isn't going to happen, that this was the best story that could happen by far. I think you're going to see him. I really think this is a rebirth for him. A lot of people were talking about how, hey, he finally did it. Maybe he can take a deep breath now. And I believe that might be true. I think he can. This is a rebirth for him. He has got out. He got out of the way, the one thing that was kind of hanging over his head, which was the Grand Slam. And I tell you what, Bobby, this year, if there was ever a year where a guy could win 3 or 4 of them, it's kind of hand-baked for Rory right now. He has won 3 or 4 times at Quail, where they're having the PGA. He's going to go to Oakmont, which is completely wide open, no trees. Now, there'll be a lot of rough, and it's not going to be an easy golf tournament at all. But he has 2 golf courses that are kind of perfect for him, and then he goes home and plays at Royal Portrush in the British Open, where he's played 500 times. So, as crazy as it sounds, something weird could happen here, and he could win a bunch of these in a row. And who knows? I mean, he could wind up with 10 in the next 10 total in the next 2 or 3 years if these things fell into place for him. I really do think this unlocks him winning at the Masters finally.
You brought this up the last time we were together and how important confidence is in your golf swing and just in everyday life and anything that you do. And I think that's one thing that he's going to be just oozing with is confidence right now. He's going to feel good about himself. All the pressure is off of him. And, we know what pressure does in the game of golf. And when we talk about that, you look at a couple shots that he hit, and anybody who's played the game, if you put Rory, what was he, 70 yards out on 13, and you figure he's going to hit it left of the flag. Wirtz is going to make his 5 there. And then somehow he hits a shot under the gun at the Masters, the final round, and knocks it in Rays Creek. I mean, how does that happen, Drew? I mean, people say, how does that happen, to a tour player? It's probably the best player in the world. How does that even happen? Well, it can happen. It's all about pressure. The heat affects everyone, and tour players are no different.
No doubt. And if you've ever been there, that shot, I would say this. He might have done the right. I know a lot of people were on him about laying up there because he had gone for it every all 3 days. Um, I think if you got him to be honest with you, I think he did not hit that second shot where he wanted to hit it. Um, if you've ever been there, the angle coming from the left across the green with that flag where it was is very, very dicey because the green narrows the further left you go. I would bet you he would admit that he pulled that second shot, didn't hit it where he wanted to hit it. I think he probably wanted to be more like 100 out. Um, no excuse for hitting that shot that he hit, but I would just say his mind might have been running a little bit there with, yeah, I've kind of put myself in an awkward spot here. I can go left of it and leave myself 20 feet, or I can try to put this thing close, 6 feet, 8 feet, put this golf tournament away. And then he pushed it. It was one of the worst shots. Vanderbilt hit some bad ones coming down the stretch in the 99 British Open when he was up by 3 with 1 hole to go. It was one of the worst shots you've ever seen from someone in that position. And then in contrast, the shot he hit at 15, 25 minutes later was one of the best
Exactly.
you've ever seen.
Yes, at 15 and then 17. So, there he's
Right.
swinging free.
And
He's got to
16.
hit yeah,
And
exactly.
16,
Yeah.
right.
So, I mean, it was amazing. It was kind of a little flow of everything. Some great shots, some bad shots. And then on 18, he's in the fairway. All
Oh,
he has to do is probably make par. He's going to win make par. You win the golf tournament. You got a wedge in your hand and you blow it in the wrong bunker to the right. I mean, that was amazing again. And then, for him to come back and have that basically that same shot in the playoff and hit a great shot, make birdie, and win the Masters. That's storybook stuff.
it, I was saying as we were watching it, it would be kind of cool for him to have a coronation where he was 4 ahead with 2 to play and he hit it in the middle green at 17 and 2 putted. And 18, he could just kind of walk backwards and wave to everybody. That would have been neat. But I think what you saw was a better story in the end because of what he overcame and the way that it happened and the way it unfolded with the ball that he hit into the bunker at 18. And then, as you mentioned, the one he stiffed in there. And here's what I'm going to tell you. I do believe this. I hate to say it. I think if Rose makes that birdie putt on the first playoff hole, I don't think McIlroy makes his.
You
I
might be
I
you
think
might be
it's
right.
it's way harder to make a putt to tie than it is to win for whatever weird reason.
I agree with you.
So
I mean, it was certainly fun to watch. That's for sure. And I'll tell you, you've had an amazing career as a player. And we talked about this. And for those of you, our listeners who don't know, you played in the senior U.S. Open back in 2021 in Omaha. And I remember when we talked, you had a great story about Bernard Langer, and I just want to get your take on his career and especially his career at the Masters, his history at the Masters, and how much he loves it, what a gentleman he is, and how much fun and it was to watch him play his final round at Augusta.
well, it was special for me. I did send him a text actually on Sunday night and just said how much he had meant to me. And it's funny when you watch the CBS special. I don't know that I realized how revered he is there by their membership and by the golf tournament and the committee. I don't know that I realized that.
Right.
He was one of the first Europeans to ever really stand out over here from overseas. Obviously, Seve won the Masters 2 times. Nick Faldo won it 3 times, but Langer was one of the and Olazabal won it twice also. Langer was one of the first Europeans to ever really embrace it. And obviously, he won in '85 and then again in '93. His record there has been incredible. And I just, he was, you see some people occasionally on television and you kind of wonder, are they really like that in real life? He was doubly nice to me in real life than you see him on television. He was so cordial to me and friendly to me and helpful to me, probably because after about the 4th hole when we played together, he said, well, I don't have to worry about this guy winning. But he was so friendly and helpful. And I will never forget when he said to me on Wednesday night, I had like the two 50 time on Thursday in the first round in Omaha, and he had 2 times before me. So we were kind of mimicking. One of the things he said to me on Monday was, when the tee times come out, you immediately start configuring the rest of your week around your tee times. So if you play early on Thursday, you play early on Wednesday. You start figuring out right away what your routine is going to be. And when the tee times came out Tuesday morning, he had like 235 and I had 250. We were very close to one another. So we then started. So then on Tuesday, he said, I want to play again tomorrow, but I want to play in the afternoon. Um, Wednesday, he said, I want to play, but I want to play in the afternoon. So we were like naturally around one another. I did not play with him on Wednesday. He played with someone else, but I think he played at like 2:30 and I played at 3. And when I went into the locker room afterwards, he was in there and he had like a media obligation or something or sponsor, and he was shaving. And I walked in the bathroom and he said, how was your day? I said, it was great. Had a great day. I played with Mike Weir and someone else. And he said, are you having fun? I said, I'm having the greatest week of my life. He said, well, you should remember that. You are here to have fun. You're not going to win. I don't mean to dampen your enthusiasm. You're not going to win, but you should have fun. And I tell you, Bobby, I went out of the locker room like a different guy. Because I really, look, I didn't go there with any thought that I was going to win the U.S. Senior Open, but I did go there really wanting to play well and wanting to I wanted to show that I belonged, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I remember something Billy Andrade said to me on that Monday. We were walking along on like the 7th hole, and he stopped me and he goes, hey, I just want you to know something. You qualified for this tournament. You belong here. And that really also meant something to me, like that he said that to me. But Langer said, you're here to have fun. You should have fun. It really changed my attitude. And I went out. My caddy was waiting outside. We were going to go to dinner. And I said, man, Langer just said something to me. It was amazing. And even now it gives me chills. Like, just that really meant something to me because it woke me up a little bit to like, just go have fun. And my family and my kids and my wife were there. And it totally made my day when he said that. So made my week really. So
I can tell you this, he epitomizes what a Masters champion is. And
correct.
Just a world-class human being and obviously a world-class golfer. His work ethic is unparalleled. He's a grinder. That's why he's been, able to have the career that he's had, both on the regular tour and on the senior tour. And you're not going to see many more guys like him. I mean,
let me tell you,
guys like Rory say, hey, I don't want to play when I get older.
Right.
They obviously have the money, but this guy loves the game of golf, loves competing so much. He kept himself in shape over the years, both his mind and his body. He just carried himself like a true professional on the golf course, and you just can't say enough good things about Bernard Langer.
And here's the best part about it. I mean this as a total positive statement. He doesn't hit it anywhere. He hits it like 240 or 250. If he catches a good one, he might hit it 260 or 270 at the most. He just moves it from A to B and from B to C, and he hits his irons and his hybrids like you and I hit our wedges. Like they're so solid, and he is an amazing ball striker. Amazing.
Well,
and he doesn't hit it anywhere.
You can tell this to your all your team at Calvert Hall. That's not by accident. That's from hard work. That's for
no
sure.
No doubt. Oh, I've told him a bunch.
It's great to talk and reflect a little bit on the Masters, the PGA Tour, and live. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back, talk some Calvert Hall golf and how to work with young people to get them into the game of golf and how to improve their game as well. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
And now a word from our sponsor.
I love a good adventure, and my friends and family do too. So we all drive Toyotas. Tacomas for my rugged buds and Corollas for my city crew. And I drive a RAV4 that I take camping, shopping, and basically everywhere else. We all picked our Toyotas because they're reliable and efficient and have amazing resale value, saving us money now and down the road. So we can make every day an adventure. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals and inventory. Toyota, let's go places.
And welcome back into the Endless Golf Podcast presented by Toyota. Staying with me this morning is Drew Forrester from Drew's Morning Dish, and also the head coach of the Calvert Hall golf team in Baltimore. Calvert Hall, obviously a great high school, a great learning experience for the kids, both in the classroom and in the athletic programs as well. Calvert Hall does a tremendous job. And Drew, I tell you what, I know you've been involved now 13 years, I believe, as a head coach at Calvert Hall.
13 years. As of today, when we're doing this, we're 7-0. We're having a magical dream start. We have it's kind of crazy. We have had 3 or 4 matches that have gone right down to the wire, and we've pulled every one of them out. We've just had a great start. We've worked very, very hard. The weather has not been great, as everybody knows in this area. Cold and windy. It is a spring sport. I always remind my kids in February, March, when we're out there and we're freezing and it's 36 degrees. I'm like, A, it's an outdoor sport, and B, we're going to face the same weather in April. It ain't going to be 90 in April. So we've had a great start. It is a little bit of a single elimination league, meaning once you get in the playoffs, if you lose one time, you're out. And so we're just working hard to try to stay above everyone, and we're just having a great year so far. I'm very blessed. These kids are remarkable players.
I wanted to ask about your kids. The kids that you coach, most of the kids, at what age do they really take up and pick up the game of golf?
Well, most of them have been playing since they were 10, 11 years old. Some of them are playing more competitively now earlier, which I think is fine. But I tell you, Bobby, every year, I get a kid or two who, and they may start at the JV level, but I'll get a kid or two who will say, yeah, I was a baseball player and then I just didn't like it anymore. And so I took up golf, and I'll say, well, really, where'd you learn to play? And they'll say YouTube or TikTok. Like you're seeing a lot more kids naturally develop, and then they need some refining, and then they need to learn how to play tournament golf. But you're seeing a lot of kids now, age 14 or 15, who were lacrosse players, who got disenfranchised with it, or soccer, or whatever sport, who just suddenly take up golf, and athletically, they're very good right away. It's kind of weird because we all know it's a hard sport, but I see a lot of kids now who are pretty good a year or two into it.
Isn't that amazing? Because I've known guys that are older in life that never played golf until maybe their mid-20s, 30s. All of a sudden, they pick up a club, and they're really, really good at the game. And we, like you said, we know how hard this game is. And there's some part of this that there's a natural athletic ability, your hand-eye coordination. And I think in everybody's case, we all have a ceiling depending on our athletic talent and our physical and our mental abilities. And but it is amazing when you see kids or see some just older people that take up the game, and all of a sudden they just got this natural talent that just shines through.
Well, sure. And one of the first things, I had a clinic last night. I run the Maryland Fellowship of Christian Athletes golf division with my assistant coach, Brian Hubbard. And we had a clinic last night, and a kid showed up that I had never seen before. And he is this perfect case. He had started playing a year ago, left-handed. I said, where'd you learn how to play golf? He TikTok. And he never really had a lesson. And you would never know it. If you just flew him from Pluto, you would think this kid's been playing for 4 or 5 years, right? But one of the things that I look at, I asked this kid's mother last night, what other sports does he play? I find that to be very valuable to me when I see a newcomer, or I see really anybody that's trying to learn how to play at any level. I ask them what other sports they play. This young man played soccer and lacrosse. So very naturally, the lacrosse move where you're kind of trying to lag the lacrosse stick, that is a very similar move to a golf lag. So right away, I'm able to kind of incorporate that with him. Hey, show me how you throw the lacrosse ball. And when he uses his wrist like that, I say, that's kind of what you want to do in golf. And right away, there's just a similarity there for him. So I think over the last, certainly in my time at Calvert Hall, but more so in the last maybe, 5, 6, 7 years, I really think athleticism has become the number one thing. If you are athletic and you have an athletic mindset and an athletic body, you can pick up golf fairly quickly and be pretty good at it fairly quickly. And I always use Brooks Koepka as an example. Never really had a formal lesson, was a really, really good baseball player and a very, very good basketball player. Same thing with Gary Woodland. And you know what both of those guys do? They would probably think this is a disrespectful comment, but it isn't. They both athleted around. That's all they do.
Yeah.
They just knock it around. They athlete it around and get it in the hole as quick as they can get it. And there's not a lot of swing analysis going on. Koepka just tees it up and hits it. And I think there's something to be said for that.
And Brooks is not shy about saying, you know what, I'm not going to go out and hit 8 million golf balls. I'm going to go out and get my work in. Yes, you have to put the work in, but there's definitely a line or a situation where you can, I don't want to say you can practice too much, but you can hit too many balls. But I also think that what makes Koepka so good and as a guy like that is he's a competitor. And you can be a ball striker, you can be all those things, but when the heat is on, do you have that stuff inside to do what it takes to hit that golf shot, to make that great shot, to make that putt? And that's one thing that Koepka has, and that's why I think he gets really excited and plays well in the majors.
Well, I had a kid on my team last year, actually played for me for 3 years, I guess, but had a great year last year. He's actually at Salisbury playing right now, Ryan Henneman. And I used to use soccer analogies with him all the time. If we got to the 11th, we play 12-hole matches, and if we got to the 11th hole and they were all square, I'd stand on the 11th tee and I'd say, Henny, you guys are 1-0 down with 4 minutes to go, and we need a goal. You need to figure out a way, because he was a soccer player at Calvert Hall, very good goal scorer. And I would use soccer analogies with him all the time. Henny, we need a goal here. You got to come up big for me. So I think athletically, you're seeing more and more kids now who understand how to use their body. People always say to me, like, why are these kids hitting it so far? Man, the golf swing has changed so much, Bobby, since you and I were younger and learning how to play. The golf swing has changed so much. You watch guys like Dr. Greg Rose, who to me is kind of the number one guy right now in the country from Titleist Performance Institute. He and Dave Phillips do an unbelievable job there of making you understand how to use your body in the golf swing, how to use leverage, and how to use the force of the ground. And these kids get it. They're just, I don't want to say they're smarter than us, but they just understand how to use their body in a way that creates leverage and creates force from the ground. And that's why they're hitting it 320 yards.
Well, I'm sure they've got a lot of instruction. Obviously, if they're younger playing the game, they're seeking a PGA professional golf instructor to teach them the right way to play, which is huge. But talk about the difference between practicing and competing, because as you mentioned, I think when we first started talking about this, is they're starting the players are starting to compete at a younger age, which is a big factor, because when you grow and you're hitting golf balls, there's no real competition in that. You have to create some competition within yourself.
Well, Bobby, you just touched on probably my favorite thing about coaching at this level, and that is making my kids understand we have 3 levels. This is my own little thing, but level 1 golf is when I come down there to Ocean City and I say, hey, Bobby, let's play. I'm down there for the weekend. Let's you and I go play and go have a cocktail afterwards and a steak at Ruth's Chris. And you go, love it. Let's go. And you and I just go play and we have a good time, right? You bring 2 guys and we have a good time. That's level 1 golf. Every one of us does it. Some of us do it, 3 times a week, but that's level 1 golf. Level 2 golf is when there's something on the line, whatever that might be, nominal, whether or not it's cocktails afterwards, whether or not it's the coach gives out a hat to the kid with the low score today. Level 2 golf, there's something on the line. Level 3 golf is when every shot you hit matters, which is a golf tournament, right? And anyone can play level 1 golf. Anybody can do that. And anybody can play level 2 golf. But level 3 golf, where every single shot matters and every shot counts, that is really, really hard to do. And so we spend a lot of our time at Calvert Hall making kids understand that. Like, they'll send me their card over the weekend and say, shot 75 today at Pine Ridge.
Right,
but then on Tuesday, when we have the qualifier for the next round of matches, they shoot 82.
Right.
There's the difference, right? There's something on the line.
Yeah.
And in terms of practicing, I've always found this, unless there's a consequence attached to whatever the result is of your practice, you're not mimicking level 3 golf. And that's why when we, at the beginning of the season at Calvert Hall, we'll have a 9 or 10 practice qualifier. I'll take scores for 10 practices and say, every single practice, there's something on the line today. Now, that also helps you because you can have a bad third or fourth match and it won't kill you. Whereas if you said, okay, we got 54 holes and that's it. So I let them go out and play for 2 or 3 weeks, but every single time we go out and practice, there's some consequence attached. There's a score attached. And I don't see how you get any better at golf unless you're playing level 3 golf as much as you can.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I fall somewhere. I'm the level 2 guy, and then sometimes a level 3. But I can only take the stress on level 3 on certain times. But I can tell you, I'm not a level 1 guy. Like if we're not playing for anything,
me neither.
It's because I find that if I'm playing with somebody and they don't care, it makes me not care.
I'm lousy at it. I got to tell you, I used to be really good at level 1 golf. I'm lousy at it now. I'm terrible at it.
You got to care. You got to care a little bit. So,
right.
Well, I tell you what, it's been a great conversation. I guess the last question I have is, if you had to advise a parent to how to coach or how to get their kids started in golf, what are a couple of things that you would say to them that would help them and get them interested in the game, and then get them, to where they know how to play the game?
Great question. I guess I would preface it by saying, if we're talking about parents who don't know anything about golf, that's one segment, right? If you're a parent who doesn't play golf and doesn't know golf, you should understand from the beginning, it's an incredibly volatile sport. And your son or daughter is going to come home some days thrilled, some days dejected, some days ready to not play anymore. Some days they want to go back out and play in the rain. It's a very volatile sport. And as a parent, I have a son who plays on my team. As a parent, and a daughter who plays at Mercy, as a parent, I have to constantly remind them it's hard. It is not easy. So I know that because I golf, right? But if you're a non-golfing parent, you need to understand it's very volatile, and you have to have very realistic expectations for your son or your daughter. They're not going to be good right away. They're just not. It's not that kind of sport. And they could be good today and not so good tomorrow. So I think the best thing for parents to do is just let their kids play and have a good time. And at the end of the day, just ask them that. Did you have fun? And did you hit any really good shots? And I always say this to my son, who has become a good player. He's got a lot of improving to do. He's going to be, in my opinion, in my lifetime, my son could be a better player than me for sure, because he has a lot more natural. He's more gifted physically, let's just say. He's bigger and taller than me. But one of the things I always say to him is, forget about your score today. Tell me how many really good shots you hit.
Yes.
That's all I want to.
And basically what you're saying is, start out as a level 1 golfer. Just go out and have a good time.
How many really good shots did you hit today? That's the question. And don't worry about the bad ones. You're going to hit bad ones. You're a 12 handicap. You're supposed to hit 12 bad ones. That's why you're a 12. Go tell me how many really good shots you hit. And if you hit 4 good ones today, then the next time you play, try to hit 6 good ones. And the next time, try to hit 8 good ones. But everybody gets score oriented in golf, and I get it. It's a scoring sport, but everyone gets score oriented in golf, and they forget about how to get there in the first place. And the way to get there isn't to hit a bunch of great shots. It's to hit fewer foul balls and to hit more decent shots. Then you migrate to hit more good shots, and then you're Rory and you just hit great shots.
Right. I tell you, and one of the big things too is when I started playing, I started playing golf, I guess, when I was 28 years old. And
I started when I was 23. You and I are kindred spirits.
Right. So, and I'll never forget, I was playing with Hunt Crosby, who was down at River Run, but the old professional director of golf at the Beach Club back in the day. And that's kind of where I learned to play golf. And I was having a bad hole. And Hunt looked at me. He goes, I was playing Pine Valley a few years ago, and the caddy looked at me and said, there's no harm in picking this ball up. And that's really true. If you're starting out and you're having a bad hole, nobody wants to watch you make the 12. And keeping score when you start the game is irrelevant. Hit as many good shots. Your point is just spot on. Hit as many good shots as you can. Try not to hit foul balls. Enjoy it. You'll figure out when you get better. You'll figure out that you're getting better. And then score can come into play. And then the score part of it, too, is the hardest format we play in golf. 95% of the golf maybe 90% of the golf I play, I never play medal play. I play match play. It's easy. Right. It's faster. It's more fun. When you have to worry about every shot to get the ball in the hole, that's the toughest golf you can play. And it's a totally different game than playing match play, but match play is a lot easier.
No doubt. Well, I got a funny story. Larry Moody, who is the old PGA Tour chaplain, who's a very dear friend of mine and helps us with FCA golf. He and Bernard Langer have been longtime friends, and he introduced Bernard to the PGA Tour Bible study. And Larry is an 18 handicap. Hope I'm right on that, Larry. Sorry, but Larry's about an 18 handicap. But he loves golf. His whole life's been involved in ministry and golf. And he was playing with Bernard somewhere at some point, 20 years ago. And Larry hit a couple of bad shots and said something he shouldn't have said and hit his club on the ground and got mad. And Bernard Langer said, "Larry, you're not good enough to get mad."
There you go.
So you just you hit it right on the head. Like, just have fun. Don't worry about anything except the next shot. Can I hit the next shot well? And my daughter just went out and played 18 holes with me for the first time ever. And she shot 119. And I said, "That's the best round you've ever shot in your life." And she said, "Well, it's the only 18 holes I've ever shot." I said, "That's correct.
That's right.
That's the way to look at it.
That's the way to look at it.
Best round of your life."
Yeah. Well, Drew, again, I appreciate you spending some time with me on the podcast today. Always great catching up.
I watch them all. I'm honored because I watch every one of yours. So I'm honored to be with you.
I certainly appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get to tee it up sometime in 2025. We'll stay in touch for sure.
You got it. Thanks, Bob.
We'll see you next time right here on the Endless Golf Podcast. So long, everybody.
The Endless Golf Podcast has been brought to you by Toyota.